Okay, we are starting now. Okay, I'm going to share my screen. So last week we started on Jupyter Notebooks. We're just simply going to continue today. We have spoken about some things, and then I want to take it from the top for better understanding. So we know that when we want to type anything, we want to run any Python code. We can simply type Python 3 into our terminal, and then we enter Python shell like this, and then we can run the Python code. Print, for instance, hello world, and then we get an output. But there's a downside to this, and the downside is that we can only run one line of code per time. We cannot run multi-type line of code, so we have to run one line and then we press enter. But if we want to run a script, and then we know that a script most of the time could be more than one line, how do we run it? So yes, we could create a Python script and say hello world, hello.py, and then we type into this print hello world, and then we save this, and then we know we can run this by saying python 3 hello.py, and then when we run this we get an output hello world. So for instance, why is that a script? It is a script because unlike the Python shell, we could run several lines of code on this. We could say x is equals to 1, and then y equals to x plus y equals x plus y, and then we can then say print x plus y. We say x plus y is x plus y. When we save this and then we run the file now, and then we'll run the file again, we get an output. So we have the hello world, and then we have x plus y is 3. So with this we see that we can write multi steps of Python code, and then we can run it with just one command, unlike the shell that we have to press each line, enter after each line. So now we have Jupyter Notebook. We spoke about Jupyter Notebook, and then we spoke about how to run Jupyter Notebook. So to go over it again, how do we run Jupyter Notebook? Or let's start with how do we install Jupyter Notebook. For us to install Jupyter Notebook, we say pip install Jupyter Lab, and then we press enter. This is very fast for me because I have already done the installation. And when if you have Python already installed, then you should have pip install. And how do you know that you have pip installed? You can simply just write pip, press enter on your terminal, and then you get an output like this. If it is not an error you get, then you're sure you have pip installed, right? So to install Jupyter Notebook, Jupyter Lab, pip install Jupyter Lab, you run it like that, and then you run it, and then you have your installation done. So now, how do we run Jupyter Notebook? So now we have installed the Jupyter Lab. How do we get our Jupyter Notebook? You simply come to your terminal again, type Jupyter, then you write notebook. And then once I press enter on this, the Jupyter Notebook code runs, and then I have all of this. So once it finished running, you'll see something that says to access the server, open this file in a browser. So this is the file. I can copy this and open this in my browser. So if I copy this, I say copy and go to my browser, I press enter, and then I have my Jupyter Notebook. Or or copy and paste one of these URLs. So these are local URLs. This is like a website running on my laptop. So I can copy any of this URL. Copy this URL for instance, highlight it and press copy. Then I can equally paste this in my browser, press enter, and then I have the same interface like I had earlier, right? So again, to run our Jupyter Notebook, all we have to do is what? And then all we have to do is to run Jupyter, then write notebook, and then we press enter. And then after we press enter, these files get created, and then we can copy one of these, either this one or this one or this one, put it in the browser, paste it in the browser, and then we have access to the Jupyter Notebook. So this just signals to us that the Jupyter Notebook server is running already on our system. So mine has already automatically opened, and then this is the hello.py file that I created just a moment ago, and then this is the text file, and then so I can open this file. Sorry.
Mape para mo ang class. Mape para mo ang class.
So now I have, this is the hello.py file that I made just a moment ago, and then I can open this file in my Jupyter Notebook by double clicking on it, and then I see the code that I wrote just a moment ago, and I can make changes to it. I can say I want to add another variable, which I'm going to say z, and then I'm going to say z is equals to 3, and then I can say x plus y plus z equals x plus y plus z, and then now I have x plus y plus z, then I have x plus y plus z, and then I can save this. Let's check. So essentially I have edited this file, and I can run it on my terminal. But where Jupyter Notebook really shines is the fact that is what it gives us, which is the Jupyter Notebook files. This is Python file, but this is Jupyter Notebook file. So for instance, I can create a new Jupyter Notebook, and then how do you know the difference between a Jupyter Notebook and a Python file? A Jupyter Notebook is suffixed with .ipymb, while a Python file is suffixed with .py. So say I want to create a new Jupyter Notebook. I come here, new, you see this is Python 3, ipykernel, and then I can start one, and then I have started a new one, double click on it, and then boom, I have a Jupyter Notebook page. So this is showing that the Python kernel is running essentially what this means is that this is an instance of the Jupyter Notebook running, and then I have this thing which I discussed in the last class. I call these shells. So you write your code in Jupyter Notebook in shells like this. And then the interesting thing about shells like this is that you could model the shell to be three things. You could model it to be a code, or you could say it is a markdown, or you could say it is raw. So we know what a code is. When you say your shell is a code, then you could write codes like print hello world. In your shell, and when you press run this shell and advance. Run this shell and advance means that when you press it, it goes to the next shell. It runs it and goes to the next shell. Notice the bracket before this, there's nothing in here. So I click on the shell I want to run, I click run this shell, and then it goes to the next shell. Now I have one, then it gives me an output which is hello world. So I can equally do everything that I've done before. I can say x is equals to 1, y equals 2, z equals 3. Then I can say sum of x, y, z is equals to x plus y plus z, and then I can say print. So now I have all of this, and then I can run this code. Obviously this is not going to give any output, right? So it gave as expected, but in this instance we should know that this variable now exists, such that if I say print sum of x, y, z and I run it, I get 6. And that makes sense because 1, 2, 3, 1 plus 2 plus 3 gives us 6. Now we can make this a little bit more interactive by saying that x equals to int of input enter the value of x, right? And then we can say y equals int input enter the value of y. And then we could leave it at that, and then we could say sum of x, y equals x plus y, and then we could say print this is the sum of x and y. Right? So when I run this, what is going to happen? We are trying to just model interactivity. So now I have this. It said enter the value of x. So I can enter that to be 12, whatever value it chooses, and then I can press enter, and then say enter the value of y, and I can enter that to be 23, and I press enter, and then I say this is the sum of x and y, and then we know the sum is 35, right? So we know all of this. We've been interacting with the Python shell for like a couple of weeks now, and then we know that we do not have this interactivity. It is hard to write like multiple lines of code at a go like this and then but with Jupyter Notebook it is very easy, and then it is very smooth to write multiple lines of code. So, and then we can change the name of our file here and say introduction to Jupyter Notebook. And then that is done. So now, so far we see where we are at. We've seen all of these cells. This is how many cells do we have here now? We have 1, 2, 3, 4 cells. Each of these cells are code shells. So when I press on this, I have this. When I press on this, I have code. When I press on this, I have code. What if I want to make is markdown shell? What does that mean? So I have the code shell, and then I press on it, and then I can say, if you understand markdown, then you can say something like, this is pure text. Or this is introduction to Jupyter Notebooks. That's it. We will explore its functionality in this class. And then once I change this into markdown, I have this, and this comes as what? A comment for our code. And then I say run, and then this comes out as just code, as just text. And for this to make more perfect sense, I can say for this to make perfect sense, I can move this around and put it can move this around and put it up here. Right? Can move this around and say and put it here. So now, why do I have this? I want to say introduction to Jupyter Notebooks. I want to say introduction to Jupyter Notebooks, and then I can say this is the topics. These are the topics to be discussed. The topics to be discussed. And I can see 1, installing, 2, running, 3, using. And then I can take this off, then I can run this. You see, now I have commented and had some sort of letters to my notebook to make it more usable. Anybody who comes to this notebook now knows what this notebook is about. So that's essentially what markdown is used for. So now, beyond writing just codes like this and then writing text in Jupyter Notebook allows us to write some sort of plot and then do some data analysis operations in it. So one that we are going to explore now is a smart plot. So say you have some sort of plot and then you want to put it in Jupyter Notebook. How do you do it? All you have to do is so now you say this is plot. Run this. This is a graph, and then we say there's a graph that I got from the Matplot website. We have this. Usually you would put all of your input in one shell, run it, and then place the actual code in another shell, and then you run that. And then we have this graph showing two axes and then a pure sine wave. So in this plot we are using the matplots library and then the numpy library, and then we plot a range from 0.0 to 0.2, and then the difference between each flow is 0.01, and then we see that here is 0.0 to 2, and then this increased by 0.01 till it gets to 0.02, and then that is both on the y and then the x axis, and then we plot a pure sine wave on the graph. And then this is another edge that Jupyter Notebook gives us, that the likes of Python shell will not allow you to do. Right. Just so far, is there any question? Anybody has any question? Something I've been so fast with that you want me to go over? Okay, great. Right. So this is where we had. Now let's go a step further, and then this is where we had. Now let's go a step further and stop our running server. How do you stop your running server? Simply press Ctrl C, and then you will have shut down this Jupyter Notebook server. You press Y and then press enter, and then your Jupyter Notebook server stops. It's still stopping. That might take a while, so let's wait for it to stop completely. Yeah, so it is shut down now. Then so now it is shut down now. Right now, if we go back to our web and then try to do an operation, we see that our Jupyter Notebook is no longer running. Say print hello, run the code. You see no output is coming out because our Jupyter Notebook is not running. If you reload this page, you see that it is no longer running. So now that is that. So the newest version of Jupyter Notebook is what we call actually Jupyter Lab. Jupyter Lab. Give me 1 second. Yeah. So like I was saying, the newest version or the newest package of Jupyter Notebook is what we call Jupyter Lab. So there are two ways to install Jupyter Notebook, right? We've seen we can install Jupyter Notebook as in pip install Jupyter Notebook. Install Jupyter like this. You will not be wrong. You get your Jupyter install, and then you can still use Jupyter Notebook as proper, right? Now, and I said that we can also say pip install Jupyter Lab. Now when you install Jupyter Lab, it's better to install Jupyter Notebook using Jupyter Lab, because now when you run Jupyter Lab, you get a more sophisticated interface like this. So now in the previous, when I run the previous code, I got something like this. These are all my files, but here now I have all the files still, and I have some sort of display screen on this part. So I can easily click this code here and see the code. I'm still seeing my files here, and I can see this code also here. Is that correct? And then the same thing goes for the code that we have worked on before. This is the code that we worked on just now, and then I can go back to previous code without having to come here. But we know that the way this one runs is when I click on this, it leaves this page entirely, and for me to run a next file, I will have to come back here and run it. But this is a more compact screen, right? So I can go ahead, write more code here, print we are live. If I run this now, oh right, we are live. I run this now, it says we are live because the server is running. Okay, and then I can easily delete this cell and delete the cell altogether, and same goes for this. Delete this, and then we are happy. So now let's go over the things that this gives us. So now I can create a new file here. I can create another instance of our Python kernel by clicking this, and then I can choose either I want to create a notebook or I want to run console, create like a Python file. So if I click this, I have like a new shell like this. I can change the name of the shell in here. I can change the name of the shell when I save it, and maybe when I'm exporting it or something. And then, but the important thing is that I have another instance, but I don't want this, so I can close it and discard. Open it. I don't have any use for this. I can close it. I can decide to save it, or I can decide to cancel, or I can decide to discard it. So that is one. Another thing, we can also create a folder, and then we can upload the file. Can refresh the browser, and all of this is are just the operations that we can perform on the folder level. So let's move to running instance and kernel. So these are all the open tabs, and then we see them here. We have launcher here, hello world here, introduction to Jupyter Notebook here, and then I can close all of this, and then it will be removed from the open tabs. The next thing is the kernels. So these are the instances that are running. So we are running a Python 3 kernel instance, and then we have all the files that are running right now, and I can remove any of the instances. This is still running, so it is still going to be under our running kernel. servers, recently closed files, workspaces, terminal. Now let's go to this guy. I did not know. Can someone call me?